We are back in the United States for week 1 of 4, and the questions are rolling in hot and heavy. What's it like? Are you going to stick around? Are you going to come back? What's the reality of your time in the United States? Do you love it? Do you hate it? We're going to dive into all of it right now. Questions I've gotten all sound like this. From Princessa. Since being back in the States, is there anything that makes you rethink the move to DR? Nunotex 1975 asks, how ready are you to come back to DR? Ross Layla asks, how do you feel being back home? Is DR home for the next 5 to 10 years? I don't know if anything's anything for the next 5 to 10 years for us, but we'll see. And Myra Valentino 1 asks, do you feel at home in Michigan or do you feel more at home in Punta Cana? I've taken the time to go through 9 different categories comparing our life in the United States to our life in the Dominican Republic. I'm going to select the winner of each category. We'll tally it up. Whichever country gets more wins is the one we love more, I guess. Also, I got a second question that I'm going to share a little bit later on because it keeps repeating itself and it actually plays into a 10th category that I'll add on as a bonus. My little way of making it stay to the end, but I think it'll be worth it because we're going to get deep on a topic so many of you keep asking me about and I don't understand why you do, but hell with it. Let's get into it, right? All right, I'm gonna squat at the end of my little cul-de-sac here. That's not my house, that's our neighbor. Let's talk about the 9 categories I'm going to use to compare DR life to US life after 1 week here in the United States. It's going to be weather, food quality, driving, customer service, food cost, convenience, I'll expand on that one a little bit, space, kids, comfort. Those are the 9, and I'm going to go one by one through them. And then again, I'll add a 10th one that I think you'll be really, really interested in. Stick around. Number 1, weather. Look, this is the time of year here in Michigan. It is beautiful. It's blue, sunny skies, the whole 9. Little wind, little breeze, a little cooler than it is in the Dominican Republic. When I look at this category, I'm looking at weather, not overall, because we obviously know the winters are better there than they are here. But let's go just with summer weather in both places. I'll be honest with you, I was leaning in the direction of the United States and Michigan in particular having the better weather, because what I remember of this place is bright blue skies, really high, sunny, and it's been like that. It really has. However, I would equate the blue skies here to a kid drawing with a nice sky blue crayon and penciling in the sky. Whereas the blue skies in the Dominican are like blue marker, bold and deep blue. It's a different blue sky there for sure. And also, I don't know if this will make sense to all of you, but the sun here is out, but it's really high. So like in the mornings, we're not woken up by sun, even though there is sunlight outside in the mornings. It's the craziest thing. When you're in DR, right on the equator, very close to it, that sun is like right there. It just propels you out of bed. So for us, it's like, well, you know, we're rolling out of bed 7:30, even 8 o'clock some mornings because it just doesn't feel like morning. And I have a rule after quitting my job, like I do not set an alarm. But in DR, like, I mean, even with blackout shades, like that sun just pushes through. You gotta get up in the morning. Now it is nicer. It's not so hot here. I'm not sweating sitting here as I would in DR, but the impact of the weather on us, on our mood, on our attitude, on everything we do, check mark to the Dominican Republic. Next up, let's go to food quality. So there's a couple different ways I can look at this. This could be like restaurant food quality. This could be just regular food quality. You know, in the United States, there's more, I guess, options available overall, at least from Punta Cana. Santo Domingo will be a different beast. It's a huge city. But in Punta Cana, like there's a lot of options, but there's still more options here for different foods, stuff that you might remember from the United States or love from the United States and so on. But when it comes to things like fruits or meats or chicken or whatever, I mean, hands down, Dominican Republic has that. Look, an avocado here is not an avocado there.
What? Well, I'm out, man. That nigga's tripping.
In fact, they shouldn't even be called the same thing. They're like twins with the same DNA, but are completely different people. An avocado in the Dominican Republic tastes like an avocado. Avocado in the United States tastes like a green thing that has good fats, or whatever the hell people say that are healthy. Same can be said for mangoes and many other things. In fact, I'd be curious for you, what's the biggest distinction in the food, US to Dominican Republic for you? I live on the quietest street in the country, but there's a truck that's backing up and doing things right now on the end of this cul-de-sac that's never here. You know what it was? It's a damn Amazon truck. Of course, I forgot where we live. Always Amazon. It's actually a Hertz truck being used as an Amazon truck, but I digress. Food quality, generally for food that you buy day to day, obviously better in the Dominican Republic. But what about restaurant quality food? Well, we went out to a really nice steakhouse last night here in my town, and I got this ribeye. My wife got a fruta de mare with a couple of drinks, dessert, appetizer. It ended up being a $250 meal. And look, the environment, the restaurant, it was that kind of restaurant. But if I compare that to one of my favorite restaurants in Punta Cana, any of them, I'd get a better cut of steak for about 30% less. At least 30% less. It was ridiculous how unflavored this steak was. This is a funny story. I said to the lady, like, hey, are there like accompaniments for the steak. And she's like, oh, we salt and pepper and butter. I'm like, oh, I have to ask for that. She's like, oh, no, it's already on there. I'm like, no, I don't think it is. We then dipped into the truffle mac and cheese, like the table size portion or whatever, and it was pretty much a bowl of truffled mac and salt. Terrible. Great place, nice environment, nice old fashioned. The drink, I mean, but not the same quality food. Now, if you go further with that and you go to just like a local spot and get chicharron in the Dominican Republic, this category gets blown out of the water. Massive check food quality for the Dominican Republic. All right, let's slide over to driving. This might seem like a foregone category for all of you. You may already know where I'm going to go with this, but just slow your roll, okay? Here's the thing. Driving is sport in DR. It's a lot of fun. It's like a video game. You're like weaving in and out. There's like these mosquitoes coming at you. I call them mosquitoes. They're called motos for many of you. They're just buzzing. You just got to like kind of stay in between them, you know? It's a lot of fun. And I feel no stress driving in the Dominican Republic, no matter where it is, Santo Domingo, Higüey, and Punta Cana, especially because it's the least crazy of all the places. So you would think that, well, then, you know, maybe it's good. Maybe DR driving for you is good. I would have said yes, too. But then I got back here and drove. And the only analogy I can make would be like if I played basketball every week with a bunch of fit 30-something-year-old men, and I've got like really comfortable with playing that game. And then a week later, I started playing with a bunch of 9-year-olds and dominating on the court. The only way I can compare driving here to there, the amount of stress I didn't realize I might have while driving, or at least the need to be so aware, melted away in my first driving here. Like, this was a layup. I could drive here with my eyes closed and my feet on the wheel and still be a better driver than most. So if you like the video game aspect of driving, sure, you can we can put it in the DR category, but let's be honest. The feeling of safety driving here in the United States, big check mark for the United States. Next up is customer service. Now, I have been admittedly particularly picky about customer service in the Dominican Republic. And many of us on this channel and in the comments I read, nobody disagrees with me. Oh my God, customer service is non-existent in the Dominican Republic. Here's what that looks like. Let's say you're going to a gym and that gym has daycare in the Dominican Republic. Ours does. And at that gym, when you get there, they say, oh, you need to go on the online app to reserve the spot for your kids in the daycare. You say, well, can't I just do it here, like with you? And they're like, no. You're just like, F you. Really? Like, you can't help me at all here? The best you might get is an amor. No amor. Or if you're from Higüey, amoy. That's at least how I hear them saying it there. But the issue is, it's like, you know, there's the process we all talk about, and then they're just like, I don't give a shit what you think. No. Or if you walk up to the coffee counter and they're doing whatever they need to do, and then they finally acknowledge you, they're just like, what? So again, easily I would have given this check mark to the United States. But here's the thing, being here, that I've seen and realized now. The service here is the same, with a way nicer dressing on it. That exact example happened where my wife called the local gym to put our kids in the daycare. They put them through to the daycare room. They didn't answer, so she called back and asked if they could be put on the list. And the lady on the phone at our gym here in Michigan said, oh, you need to go on the website. She's like, but I'm talking to you. Can't you just mark it down? Like, no, I'm so sorry. All of that. Like, my apologies. You have to go on the website. But the process is the same. It's still stupid. Especially when they say, yeah, no, I have access to the reservation list right here, but no, I can't do that for you. You have to go through the process. And we see that over and over again here. It's the same, like, can't do anything for you attitude, except they just say it a little bit nicer here. That said, it is nice to be talked to more nicely. Or if I were to go to a Starbucks counter and they delayed me, they would be like, I'm so sorry. I was doing something in the back. My apologies. How can I help you? The end result is probably the same, but it is nice to be acknowledged. So we're going to go the US on this one with a nice check mark, but it's closer than I would have thought. So big learning for me coming back here after experiencing DR customer service for the last 2 years. All right, so if we tally it up, we got 2 for DR, 2 for US, 5 categories to go. Next up is food cost. I'm just gonna share a little video I filmed that'll probably make the point on food cost. Let's check it out.
All right, so I just left the store. So on this topic of food cost, here's what I saw and I learned going through the store and looking at certain things. Certain things on the higher end seem to be about the same pricing. If you go, maybe a little touch higher here, depends on where you go in the Dominican. But if you go to like Nacional, which is probably on the higher end of the pricing spectrum, like a ribeye steak per pound, about the same, $18, $19, something like that, versus here at Kroger, which is where I am right now. But on the day-to-day goods, like for instance, eggs. So I just bought these eggs right here. Let me pull them out for you so you can see. Got these free-range eggs. There's a carton of 18 of them. That carton was $8. I looked over at organic eggs, and organic eggs were 12 of them for $10. Check this out from a prior video I did at Nacional so you can see the cost of eggs in DR.
All right, so let's look at eggs. Eggs here. Let's see, right here, these eggs are 105 pesos. So that's what, about $1, a little under $2. Over here, you can get these eggs for 188 pesos, so about $3. And then I saw organic here. These are 20 eggs, by the way, 20 eggs for about $3. And then the organic is over here. There's people that don't want to get them on camera. Is 229 for 20 eggs. So that's about, what, $4? Yeah, about a little less than $4 for 20 organic eggs.
20 eggs organic for about $4, or 12 eggs organic for 10. That's a massive markup on something that's a kind of a basic buy. And when you look at breads and pastas and other things like that, definitely check for DR. Way more expensive to buy groceries here in the States. At one point I just thought about after I hit the stop record button is that I'm comparing Kroger in the United States to essentially the pricing of Whole Foods in DR at Nacional. If I go to Jumbo or Olé or somewhere else, I mean, the price differential gets even bigger. So, massive increase in pricing for groceries here in the US, especially when you compare, mid-range regular kind of grocery store to high-end grocery store there. No comparison.
Next up is convenience. Now, this is where we get into the process, and the going to the bank is a 15-minute ordeal here. It's a 7-hour ordeal in Dominican Republic. That's all included in this. So is it nice to be able to go into Kroger and get out within 5 minutes? Absolutely. Do I love self-checkout lines like I've never loved them before? Absolutely. When you don't have them there, although I know La Serena is getting them, but most places don't have them because labor's cheap. They just hire cashiers. Here, I love the 6-bay checkout line where I can just go up, scan 2-3 things, and I'm out the door. Even the payment processing is simple. So all of these things for me are way, way easier than they are in the Dominican Republic. Before we came, I would have said this is going to be an easy category to give to the United States. But there's a catch. While you might spend more time at the grocery store or more time at the bank when you need to go, something you don't spend any time on in the Dominican Republic that you spend hours a day in the United States, unless you're filthy rich, is housekeeping. My wife just said it before.
Like I'm cleaning a house for the 15th time today.
I was like, shut up, woman, get to work. No, I'm just kidding. But I kind of said that.
Damn!
After she chased me with a knife, I left to come out here in order to film this video. But the point is simply, when you incorporate housekeeping, we start to move back toward the middle on convenience. And then to boot, the fact that that housekeeper can keep an eye on your kids if you both need to run out for a date, to go to the gym, whatever. We've had to do a swap of the gym every day. She goes, I go, she goes, I go. It burns hours out of the day for both of us. So this category went from all the way US to like screaming the other way with tires screeching to a check mark for the Dominican Republic. My wife's not watching this. We'll keep going. Next category, I called it space. This to me is everything. It's like space to drive, space to park, space between people. It's not as if people are like on top of you in the Dominican Republic, especially in Punta Cana. But the I gotta get mine mindset of most Dominicans, where like, I'm driving, I gotta get where I gotta go, I don't care what else is happening here. That gets old quick. Or when you're walking down a corridor with nobody else there and somebody's walking right behind you, when there's plenty of space for them not to, that gets frustrating as well. Add on to that, like where we live, our house is a 2,600 square foot house with a 1,400 square foot finished basement on an acre plus of land with an in-ground pool on the end of a cul-de-sac. And we bought that for 400 grand. It's worth today probably 6 to 650 in a neighborhood that is top-notch, A-class. In fact, I'll run some video of what my town looks like while I talk here for a second. But the roads are wider, the sidewalks are broader, people keep their distance, you're not on top of each other, no one's cutting you in line at the grocery store or the coffee shop, or whatever it might be. There's room to move. You don't feel like people are on top of you. Houses are spread further apart, at least where we live. So that feeling of space, of just having more of like personal space to operate within and not feeling like things are always coming at you and coming around you. That sounded funny, but you get my point. Definitely big check mark for the United States. Let's talk about kids. I have a question for all of you that live in the United States. Do kids go outside anymore? Or is there some sort of disease out in the world that children aren't allowed to play outside or by themselves with friends or just be outside of the house or off of an iPad or off of a TV screen? Is that a thing now? Like, just they don't leave? I mean, in the winter months, I get it. If you live in the cold weather, I guess, like it's hard to go outside unless you got to get all dressed up and it's messy. But this time of year, like our kids' friends are coming over and we're having to like kick them out of the house. They're dragging our kids inside. We had a kid over the other day where we kicked everybody outside. The kid kept coming, can I play Minecraft? Can I play Minecraft? I was like, no, Timmy. Name wasn't Timmy, but it's a great name for this video. What's the Timmy of the Dominican in that one, or in Spanish? Victor? I don't know why Victor comes to mind. Let's go with that. But anyway, kids are inside, and this is no joke. A lot of people my age, 35, 40, 45, 50 years old, even older, would say this.
When I was a kid, I left in the morning and I came back at night when my mother called me for dinner.
And that's like, there's no bullshit here. Like, that's exactly what our kids do, especially in the summer months in the Dominican Republic. I actually talked to my 9-year-old about this earlier. I'm like, God, buddy, why aren't kids outside here? He's like, it's, play an iPad, whatever. And my wife acknowledged it as well. For our kids, they go to camp in the morning. They're done at 1 o'clock. They come home, they grab lunch, made by our housekeeper, thank God. They hang out for a minute and then they're on their bikes and they're gone. They're gone at the soccer field, the baseball field, whatever. And the tough part is, especially like on a date night, we leave the house with Isabel, our housekeeper / babysitter, home and say, hey, can you just kind of go make sure the kids get home? It's getting dark. We're going on our date. We have to text her while on our date to make sure the kids made it home before dark or just after dark. That, or we're texting other parents whose kids are where our kids are and said, hey, can you just kind of keep an eye on our kids as they get home? They're driving at night on their bikes and all that stuff. This is honestly, I've got to be honest, this is more true for our older kid than our younger kid. Our younger kid we're kind of more with because he's only 6, but you get the point. Kids are outside. They're outside. They're doing things. They're not in the house. Like, that is such a stark, like, holy shit difference coming here. So we're going to send this check mark big time over to the Dominican Republic. I'm going to add one more thing to the kids. The bullying, making fun of thing, it exists in every culture. But you can just see the way kids interact in that regard here versus Dominican Republic. Kids in the Dominican Republic are like more respectful of each other. There's sort of like a shared humanity. Not that it's not here, kids are kids, but there seems to be a little bit more of a judgmentalness, whatever, between kids here than there is in the Dominican Republic. That could just be me, but that's my take. All right, category number 9, and then we'll talk about a number 10 category that is just blowing my mind that is being asked. Final category is comfort. Convenience is one thing, comfort is another. Like, where do we feel just at ease? Back to the original question of, is Michigan home or is Punta Cana home? In the Dominican Republic, being around other people, I can be myself, my wife could be herself, my kids could be their self, way more than here. That's just us. Maybe that's just us being that way, but that's how we feel. Here, our home is larger, more cozy. It's not all made of tile and concrete. Even though we make it cozy, it's not the same. Like having that finished basement with a carpet, carpets in general, like there's a coziness, a comfort here for sure. And having all that space provides a level of comfort as well. This one for me was really hard to pick. I'm going to do it because it's my channel and the hell with it. I can do whatever the hell I want. I'm calling this one a tie. Check mark for both sides. That original question from Princessa, since being back in the States, is there anything that makes you rethink the move to DR? Like, absolutely not. 100%, I can tell you, me, my wife, my kids, none of us would say, since being back, we're rethinking that move. Or even we're rethinking going back to DR, like 0% chance of that. If there's anything that's made us rethink, it's what does it look like 4 or 5 years from now? I would have said that that's where we're going to check in going into that high school age and determine, like, okay, is that the time we move back or stay in DR? But instead of that, what I think we're talking about more now is in 4 or 5 years, do we split it? Spend summers here, the rest of the year there, or some sort of split like that. People get weird about school. School is bullshit to me. It's garbage. Our kids will be fine. We'll homeschool them. We'll split them between schools. School is bullshit, I take. But I know for many that's an important thing, and you can't even imagine, like, well, what about my kids? Pulling them out of here, putting them there. It's like, whatever, they'll be okay. They're human beings, they're resilient. That's my rant on school. But anyway, that's what we're looking at. Now remember, this is after 1 week. So who knows, after week 2, 3, and 4, maybe things change one way or the other and we decide, oh my God, you know what, DR for life or whatever. But I think we're also seeing, like, we do enjoy coming back to visit, and we'll probably make this a regular ritual each summer to come back, be at our home, check it out. Which goes to another point. If you're following this channel, I talked about this trip being a discovery. Do we sell the house? After 1 week, the answer to that is no. And there's an element of comfort to that. There's an element of, like, we love our home. But a lot of our friends here are realtors, and talking to them, honestly, the question was, well, if we keep this home long-term, we're going to be exposed to cap gains where we wouldn't be if we sold it now. And we're going to have some maintenance items that we need to take care of. So we have to factor that into the total cost if you're looking at it just economically. To be honest with you, seeing what this area is, the level of growth and sort of inward migration to our county within Michigan. Like Michigan's not growing, but our county's growing, and it will continue to. I feel confident with that. When you add on that a 2.9% mortgage and only about $280,000 left to pay off, the demand increasing, the supply still being low, I see this house becoming $1 million home sooner rather than later. That's a lot more in our pocket than if we sold today and avoided all the taxes and other maintenance expenses. So for right now, after 1 week, we're keeping the home, but I reserve the right to change my mind. So if I tallied up these 9 categories, I've got 6 for DR, 4 for the United States, because one of them was a tie and each side got the check mark. 6 plus 4 is 10 out of 9 categories. That's how that works. Week 1, check to DR. I could just tell you in my soul and my mind, that is the better life for us at this phase of life right now. Now I want to get to this question. I can't believe how many of this question I got, but before I do, a couple quick orders of business. One, if you're new to the channel, my name is Jamie Gruber. If you haven't figured it out by now, I moved to the Dominican Republic with my family in 2022. I share the adventure of living there on this channel. I talk about a lot of things, real estate, finance, so on, just the lifestyle in the Dominican Republic on this channel. If you're getting value from it, I really, really appreciate you subscribing. It helps grow this thing. It helps it get bigger. It helps me create more content for you. If you haven't done so already, hit that button, hit the like button as well, if you truly like what you heard. Third thing is I get this question often, so it's worth addressing quickly. Do you know any good real estate agents in Punta Cana? The answer is yes. Down below in the caption, I have a link. It's right at the top, and it says, do you need a trusted realtor in DR in general? You click that link, you fill out a quick form, and I will connect you to realtors that I have vetted. Because buying in the Dominican Republic, it's not about the best lawyer, it's not about the best property, it's not about the best developer, it's about, do you have an amazing realtor who's a professional and does it full time and has reputational risk. And if you do, the developer, the attorney, and all the other things you need gets figured out. So fill that out and we'll make sure you get a realtor that you trust. Just give some specificity in there as to what you're looking for. All right, scene change. I had to leave the house because there's a bunch of stuff happening at the end of my block all of a sudden. I came to run some errands and I wanted to make the 10th point. Check mark to the Dominican Republic on political divisiveness. For some reason, me, as a guy that talks about the Dominican Republic, is getting this question in the AMA. Trump versus Harris. Trump versus Harris. Who do you choose? Who do you decide on? It's an AMA. Ask me anything. So fine. You're fully within your rights, obviously, to ask me anything. But how about this? How about no? I'm not going to play into this like you're a lefty, you're a righty, you must be MAGA, you must be Harris. I've gotten it both ways. Go back through comments. People are like, obviously you're left-leaning, obviously you're right-leaning. I'm like, obviously you're full of shit. You don't know what I am. That's because I probably like most of you. Like, yeah, I just want people to leave me alone. I want to go about my day. I don't want to be taxed to death. I think a little old lady or a woman who lost her husband or a man who lost his wife in war should be taken care of by the government. I think the VA should function properly. I think the borders probably shouldn't be wide open, but I think immigration is a good thing for the country. We were all immigrants at some point, but there's a legal channel and maybe that could be improved so you don't have to wait decades or whatever to get in. There's a lot that can be improved. We all agree on that, but I'm not playing into this Trump-Harris thing. Go Kennedy, or write me in. That's it. Write Gringo in if you don't want to vote for Trump or Harris. I'm kidding. Vote for whoever you want to vote for. But my point is, a major check mark on this 10th sort of like bonus topic goes to the Dominican Republic, because in the Dominican, I'll say we as a resident, we don't fight over politics. We discuss politics. We have discussions about topics of interest, but that's over a beer. That's over soccer, playing soccer with the kids or watching them play soccer or baseball. It's not all consuming. And we don't need to bucket each other left and right. The people in the Dominican Republic, the culture there that I am in, the culture that was there, not my culture, it's their culture that there's no way to break it. There's no way to break the culture there. Is alignment of people, and they don't really trust the government. Fucking makes sense to me. Whereas here, it's like, are you left, are you right? I don't trust government either in the United States, but I trust even less the guy on the right or the girl on the left or whatever it might be. So anyway, number 10 check mark over to Dominican Republic. Double bonus. Back to DR September 3rd.